Part 7. The regent is a yandere who needs to be pampered. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 61. Nan 11 sat there quietly, holding a cup of tea, with a light arc at the corner of her lips, and secretly sighed that Yinyu was really a powerful maid and guard. Look at this momentum. She didn't need to say anything more, Yinyu solved everything by herself. Teacher Wen is not strict in managing his family. I think it is necessary to report this situation to the prince. Yinyu continued. My prince often said that the Qi family governs the country and the world. The Wen family can't even manage their own servants, so how can they govern the country and the world? Wen Lan frowned. Grandfather was the teacher of the princes. The etiquette of the great Zhou has always emphasized respecting teachers. You want to erase grandfather's many years of merit by saying that he is not strict in managing his family. Miss Wen, this is wrong, Yinyu retorted slowly. I didn't say anything to deny the merits of Master Wen, but merits and dereliction of duty are two different things. Master Wen was the teacher of the princes, and the current emperor also respects the master. This is a fact that no one can deny, but it is not an excuse for lax management of the family. She raised her hand and pointed at the maid behind her. If the rule of the Wen mansion is that servants can recklessly commit crimes, then it is obviously the dereliction of duty of Master Wen. The servants of the Wen mansion can openly accuse and slander Miss Nan without distinction of status today. In the future, when they appear in front of the regent or the emperor, can they also be rebellious and ignore the etiquette of status? Even the servants of the Wen family are like this. Does it mean that everyone in the Wen mansion has no king in their eyes and it is impossible to be loyal to the king? The words were spoken calmly, not hurriedly, but with sharp tongues, and every word hit the point. Not only did Wen Lan and the maid behind her change their faces suddenly, but the other unrelated women in the flower hall were also dignified for a while, and did not dare to speak easily. In terms of eloquence, all the people present combined could not match Yinyu. She was not only sharp-tongued, but also had amazing courage. If these words were put on others, who would dare to say them without fear of death? In front of so many princesses and noble ladies, she had the audacity to accuse Master Wen of not managing the family strictly. This was not just courage, but she was simply ignorant of life and death. But who made her a guard from the regent's palace? With the regent behind her, even if she pointed at Master Wen's nose and scolded him, who would dare to say anything? It is true that Master Wen was the teacher of the current emperor and several royal brothers when they were princes, but he was not the teacher of the regent, so the regent naturally did not need to respect him too much. Moreover, the regent led troops to fight in his youth. After so many years of immersion in the battlefield and military camp, he had long been accustomed to killing and ruthlessness. He did not take these so-called respected civil officials seriously. As everyone knows, when the previous emperor was in power, he was the master who did not kneel in front of the emperor. Now he was expected to give face to a master? No one could afford to be accused of not managing the family strictly and serving the emperor unfaithfully. Wen Lan closed her eyes. Kaiyu. The maid behind her was already pale, thinking that the reason why the master was accused of not managing the family strictly was because of her talkativeness just now. She felt that a disaster was coming for a moment, and said anxiously, "Little, miss. Apologize to Miss Nan." Kaiyu replied in a low voice, walked to Nan 11 tremblingly, and said humbly, "It was my fault just now. I was blind. Please be generous, Miss Nan, and don't hold it against me." The tone was terrified and humble, and there was no longer the arrogance just now. Nan 11 glanced at her, smiling. Is this your attitude of admitting your mistakes? The regent is a yandere who needs to be pampered. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 62. Kaiyu's face changed. I am a maid of the Wen family. So what? Nan 11 raised her eyebrows. Let alone you, a maid. Even if it is the respected Master Wen, if he really did something wrong and needs to apologize, shouldn't he show some sincerity? Or do you think that you are a maid of the Wen family, so you are superior to other maids? Kaiyu subconsciously turned her head to look at her young lady. Wenlan pursed her lips. Miss Nan, are you deliberately challenging me? Nan 11 smiled lightly, her tone was calm, and even a little gentle. Miss Wen, don't be too proud of yourself. I'd rather go back to the regent's mansion to have a cup of tea with the prince, play a game of chess, and have a poetic and picturesque time than to challenge you. A knife stabbed directly into the heart. Wen Ian's face changed instantly, and he clenched his hands tightly. The other noble ladies were stunned, their faces were pale and blue, they could hardly believe that Nan 11 slapped Wenlan in the face in front of so many people, and even shamelessly showed off their affection. She was so unscrupulous, she didn't even bother to put on a show, and she didn't even have the reserve that a woman should have. It was really eye-opening. The atmosphere in the flower hall instantly dropped to freezing point. No one spoke. Rong Le and Rong Mia Miao's faces were particularly subtle, and although Nanjiao was looked up to by these noble ladies, she was just a concubine's daughter after all, and she was definitely not qualified to speak in this situation. Finally, it was still the birthday girl Linjia who spoke up to break the deadlock. Kaiyu is just a maid. It is against the rules to mock Miss Nan in public. It has nothing to do with whose maid she is. If she makes a mistake, she should bear the consequences. When Ian's eyes were subtle, Princess Bailing is so protective of Miss Nan. Jia Rong Le frowned. Kaiyu was also unintentional. Rong Miao Miao echoed, yes, Kaiyu didn't mean it. You see, Miss Wen is so well educated and reasonable, you know that the people around her should know the rules. Kaiyu is just eager to protect her master and has no intention of offending Miss Nan. Telling lies with open eyes. Not intentional, Yin Yu sneered at Kaiyu. If it's not intentional, she should hide behind and be dumb. Didn't her lady teach her how to be a qualified servant? When the master is talking, she has the right to interrupt. This statement is clearly scolding Kaiyu, but it is clear who it is actually targeting. Kaiyu bit her lip. Didn't you speak just now? Yes, I spoke. What's wrong? Yunyu said arrogantly. I dare to admit that I spoke. I did it on purpose. Not only did I deliberately embarrass you, I don't have to apologize. What do you think? Kaiyu's face flushed red, and then turned blue and white, choking and unable to say a word. Wenlan felt the feeling of having his face swollen for the first time, and felt that he had lost all his face and dignity, and was uneasy and really resentful. Linjia didn't expect it to be so awkward today, but although she didn't show any emotions on her face, she felt inexplicably happy when she heard Nan 11 and Yin Yu, the master and servant, making everyone present fall into disgrace. These noble ladies who usually look elegant, relying on their noble status, look down on this or that. Don't look at Rong Le and Rong Mia Miao's warmth to her on the surface. Isn't it because of her mother, the princess? In fact, because of her father's relationship, the two of them looked down on her privately. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The regent is a yandere who needs to be pampered. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 63. Although she is a princess, her surname is not Rong. She is a descendant of the Lin family, and her father's Lin family was killed as soon as the new emperor ascended the throne, leaving only her father alive. For more than a year, her father and mother, although they are husband and wife, are like enemies who are incompatible with each other. The princesses and daughters of the royal family are warm to Linjia on the surface, but privately they are jealous of her favor in front of the new emperor, and look down on her for being the daughter of a criminal. They are hypocritical and extremely hypocritical. Who knows that Linjia doesn't care about the emperor's favor at all? The imperial power is treacherous and the emperor's heart is unpredictable. Linjia is caught between her father and mother and is in a dilemma. She can only be a heartless little princess, enjoying the glory given to her by the royal family, but she feels sorry for her father's situation and misses her grandmother and aunt who once doted on her. If Nan 11 and Yin Yu hadn't slapped these noble ladies in the face in public today, she would have almost forgotten that it felt so good. Thinking of this, Lin Jie smiled. Others thought she was trying to appease him, but she just wanted to laugh. Miss Nan is very generous, so don't argue with her. The banquet is already in the front hall. Let's go and sit down. What does the princess mean? Wen Lan frowned and said in a light tone, Miss Nan is very generous. Are you saying that I am narrow-minded? Lin Jie paused and smiled lightly. Miss Wen misunderstood. What I meant was that Kaiyu was just a maid. Miss Nan is at least the legitimate daughter of the first-rank Prime Minister's mansion. It's not worth it to argue with an ignorant maid. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the people present changed slightly. Although they always regarded Nan 11 as a merchant's daughter, her father was the Prime Minister, and she was the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion, which was a fact that no one could deny. It was only because her mother was from a merchant family, and Madame Nan was very wealthy. She had always been generous when attending banquets of ladies from various families, and always overshadowed other noble ladies, so people were resentful and dissatisfied. Over time, the terms Madam of a merchant family and Madam's daughter gradually became a habit in the circle of noble ladies in the imperial capital. Whenever the mother and daughter of the Nan family were mentioned, the noble ladies and noble ladies of various families looked at people as if they had their eyes on the top of their heads, as if this was the only way to show that they were superior and disdained to compare with the wives of merchants. In fact, they could not compare at all. Everyone knew this fact, but no one would admit it. At this time, Lin Jie pointed out Nan 11's identity, and everyone felt that they were deceiving themselves. So what if she was a merchant's daughter? Nan 11 was the only legitimate daughter of Prime Minister Nan, and Prime Minister Nan was a confidant and favorite of the emperor, and had made great contributions to the emperor. If you really want to be serious, Wen Lan is not much more noble than Nan 11. After all, although Master Wen is respected by the emperor, how can he compare with the current prime minister in terms of actual power? Lin Jie's words ignorant maid directly stomped Wen Yan's face to the ground. The face of the Wen family girl became visibly ugly. She stood up and said in a cold tone, my maid is indeed ignorant, so I won't offend people here. Princess Bailing, please treat Miss Nan well. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. After that, she turned around and walked out of the flower hall. Miss Wen Rong Le stood up, I'll go with you. Rong Miao Miao followed and said, I have something to do too. Anyone can leave if they have something to do. I won't force you to stay. Lin Jie smiled calmly, but once you step out of this mansion today, don't pretend to be friendly with me anymore. This princess is a grudge-bearing person. Author's words. I have passed the third test, and I will get the certificate after the fourth test. I will update the baby from today, and I will write 4,000 words a day next month. Babies, please leave more messages starting tomorrow. The male lead will have more scenes. Mua. The regent is a yandere who needs to be pampered. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 64. Rong Le and Rong Miao Miao froze in their tracks. Turning her head slowly, Rong Le looked at Lin Jie in shock. Jie, are you going to turn against us for Nan 11? Who is the person closest to her? You are wrong, Lin Jie said calmly, today is my birthday. You walked out of my birthday party and deliberately slapped me in the face. Since you don't give me face, should I still remember your kindness? Rong Li's eyes turned cold. During the time they were talking, Wen Lan had already left with the maid. Obviously, Lin Jie's words had no effect on her. She was such a proud woman, and it was impossible for her to put down her face and come back. Lin Jie's words were not directed at her, but to Rong Le and Rong Miao Miao. Rong Miao Miao was in a dilemma. She regretted finding trouble with Nan 11 at the beginning. If she knew that Lingia would defend Nan 11 so much, maybe she would think twice before mocking Nan 11. But now that she has offended someone, she doesn't want to stay with Nan 11 anymore, so she wants to take advantage of Wen Ian's momentum to leave, but she didn't expect Lingia to turn against her directly. She pursed her lips and looked at Rong Li with some hesitation. Although both of them came from the royal palace and were legitimate princesses, how could the royal family have any uncle-nephew relationship? The higher the status of the prince, the more likely the emperor would be afraid of him. In front of the emperor, no one is more honorable than Lingia's mother. The eldest princess was originally the emperor's biological sister, and the siblings had a good relationship. In addition, the Lin family was killed, and the relationship between the eldest princess and Lin Fuma suffered a devastating blow. The emperor felt guilty about this sister, so he treated the eldest princess better. Many good things in the palace were sent to the eldest princess's mansion, and even the queen did not dare to offend his sister. As the only daughter of the eldest princess, if Lingia wanted to turn against someone and stop communicating with them, it is conceivable that she would probably lose the opportunity to show her face in front of the emperor in the future. After weighing the priorities in her heart, Rong Miao Miao suddenly smiled and walked forward to hold Lingia's arm. Jia, don't be angry, we are just joking with you. Today is your birthday, how can I leave in the middle of the meal? I have to wait until the banquet is over before leaving, Lele, don't you think so? She turned her head to look at Rong Li, and also handed her a step. Rong Li pursed her lips and glanced at Nan 11 indifferently, with a bit of gloomy hostility in her eyes, but she nodded and walked down the steps. Yeah. Nan 11 sat there calmly. She has taken many things lightly in her new life. There is nothing worth worrying about except life and death. It doesn't matter how others see her. She just needs to be responsible for making herself comfortable and happy. Whoever makes her unhappy, she will make the other person never happy again. Princess, an older maid, came over and bowed. The banquet in the hibiscus hall has been set up. The princess asked the princess to take all the noble ladies to take their seats. I know, I'll go right away, Lingia said, turning to look at Nan 11, Miss Nan, please. Nan 11 nodded, stood up and walked out with Lingia. Rong Li and Rong Miao Miao felt a little uncomfortable seeing Lingia's warm attitude towards Nan 11, but they could only suppress their discomfort temporarily and followed him to the hibiscus hall in silence. Nan Xiao, who had lost everyone's attention, was left out at the end. She looked up and stared at Nan 11's back, clenched her hands in anger, and cursed in her heart. Damn Nan 11, relying on a few stinky silver coins to make Princess Bailing look at her differently. She was indeed born into a merchant family, and she had no other skills except the smell of money. The regent is a yandere who needs to be pampered. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 65. The environment in the princess's mansion is quiet and elegant, with beautiful scenery everywhere. Entering the Furong Hall, some other familiar faces came into view. The ladies saw Nan 11 and Lingia walking together and greeted them warmly. When their eyes fell on Nan 11, their eyes couldn't help but light up. Somewhat subtle. This is Miss Nan, the eldest princess, in a deep red embroidered dress, has a beautiful face. Even though she is over 40 years old, she cannot hide her unparalleled beauty in her youth. Instead, she looks more graceful and luxurious as she is older, and her paintings are exquisite. There was a bit of condescension in her eyebrows, and even the smile on her lips could not hide the aloofness and coldness in her eyebrows. Miss Nan has been quite popular recently. As soon as she said these words, the others looked at Nan 11 even more unscrupulously. Nan 11 turned a blind eye to the scrutiny or ridicule of everyone, and bowed slightly to salute. I have met Her Royal Highness, the eldest princess. Then he smiled calmly and said, it's not my wish to be in the limelight. Although I said just now that pulling out the tongues of those tongue-tied women can block the mouths of everyone, it is impossible to actually do that. The regent is not murderous. Otherwise, they should have been killed as a warning when those people were discussing, how could they be allowed to live until now? After the words fell, the atmosphere in Furong Hall suddenly froze. The ladies looked at her in astonishment and shock. Obviously they didn't expect her to say such words, so calm yet unabashedly cruel. They didn't know whether she said it on purpose or if it was just her nature. The most important thing is that her words directly brought outsiders' comments to the regent, as if she and the regent were one and the same. What else do they dare to say? Is it possible that he accused the regent in public of bullying others and forcing his daughter? Even if they want to say it, they have to have the courage. The face of the eldest princess also froze in an unnoticeable way. She probably didn't expect that the daughter-in-law of the prime minister's mansion was so bold and dared to speak like this in front of her. But she is different from others. She has lived for so many years and can face the annihilation of her husband's family without changing her expression. Naturally, she is not comparable to those gossipy women. Moreover, she does not want to have a head-on conflict with the regent, especially when the regent still held great power. So she quickly smiled. Miss Nan has such a special temperament, no wonder the little emperor likes her. Nan 11 said, the eldest princess is so complimentary. Everyone, take a seat. The eldest princess turned around and walked to the main seat, her long robe trailing on the ground, extremely luxurious. Gia, come sit here with me, and don't forget to take Miss Nan and you with you after the banquet is over. My friend went to the garden for a walk. The peach blossoms have been in bloom these 2 days, so you haven't been there for some time. Linjia arranged for Nan 11 to sit, then walked to her mother, brushed her skirt elegantly, knelt down on the mat next to her mother, and then she pursed her lips and smiled slowly. In the past 2 days I'm so busy studying painting that my daughter almost forgets that spring has arrived. When she spoke in front of the eldest princess, her tone was a bit coquettish, like a daughter acting coquettishly with her mother. Several distinguished ladies in the hall smiled heartily after hearing this, and couldn't help but praise, the little princess is not only smart and beautiful, but her hard-working and studious spirit is also worth learning from girls from all families. With a mother as talented and beautiful as the eldest princess, the little princess is naturally very smart. The one in my family knows how to buy clothes and jewelry all day long. There is no comparison with the little princess. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The regent is a yandere who needs to be pampered. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 66. The ladies praised Linjia, and Linjia smiled politely and modestly. Suddenly, a lady turned to look at Nan 11, I wonder what Miss Nan likes to do at home. Needlework. Playing the piano? Or painting? Look at what the princess asked. A lady wearing a peach pink satin brocade said, Miss Nan is Madame Nan's only daughter. She will definitely follow Madame Nan to do business in the future. How can she have time to learn these elegant things? Nan 11 had a smile on her lips, but the smile did not reach her eyes. See, it's not that she wants to make things difficult for others, but these people don't like her and want to find trouble with her in various ways. No time to learn elegant things. Doesn't this mean that she is vulgar? My girl knows everything. Yin Yu knelt on the left side of Nan 11 and smiled faintly, there is no need to learn needlework. Anyway, the prince is reluctant to let her do it. Playing the piano, making tea, painting, and the like are not difficult for my girl. Even my prince is amazed by her talent. Really? Linjia looked at Nan 11 in surprise and smiled, this is a good relationship. Come to me often when you have the chance in the future, and we will learn from each other. Nan 11 smiled and said, okay. Since Miss Nan knows everything, why don't you perform a piece for the eldest princess and the little princess today, the princess of the county, who was wearing a royal blue brocade skirt with dark plum blossom patterns, suggested, just treat it as a lively event. Nan 11 smiled faintly and ignored it. My girl is not performing for a living, who is she performing for? Yin Yu frowned, not afraid of offending people. If you want to have fun, why don't you invite a troupe? The one who spoke was the princess of Pingyang County. Being talked back by a maid in public, her face instantly turned ugly, and she said coldly, are you a maid in Nan Mansion? Is this the rule for maids in the Prime Minister's mansion? I am not a maid in the Prime Minister's mansion. Yin Yu raised an eyebrow. I am a guard in the regent's mansion. I am here to protect Miss Nan under the order of the prince. Whoever dares to disrespect Miss Nan, I will teach him a lesson. Princess Pinjiang's expression changed. Being scolded by a maid in public made her embarrassed. She couldn't help but sneered, the regent is in a high position and has great power. I didn't expect a guard in the palace to be so arrogant. Yin Yu argued, although I am a little arrogant, I didn't pick on you for no reason. If you don't make things difficult for my girl, I won't bother to care about you. When has Princess Pingyang ever been so angry? Her face was full of anger. The princess turned pale. You. That's enough, the princess said calmly. Why are you arguing with a little girl? If it gets out, people will say that you are narrow-minded and have no tolerance for others. Princess Pinjiang's face was cold and angry, and she turned to look at the princess. There is a difference between the superior and the inferior. The princess just heard it. How dare she, a little maid, challenge me? Even if the regent is here, he can't tolerate the maid being so rude. Miss Nan, the princess looked at Nan 11 calmly. The regent is noble and awe-inspiring in the court, but the more so, the more he should restrain the words and deeds of his servants, otherwise it will inevitably be criticized and affect the regent's reputation. Nan 11 put down the teacup in her hand, raised her eyes and smiled softly. This should be said to the regent. The princess just heard it. Yin Yu stayed by my side under the order of the regent. A maid as arrogant and domineering as her should not listen to me. Yin Yu blinked. The girl was right. Her ambition is to be a domineering female guard that no one dares to mess with, to be invincible in the world, and to make everyone dare not disrespect her. The girl is moved and would like to marry her prince as soon as possible. Author's words. I will update another chapter if I have time in the evening. Please leave more messages. Window. Taboola equals window. Taboola. Taboola.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, Taboola below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. The regent is a yandere who needs to be pampered. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 67. Since ancient times, where there are people, there are conflicts of interest, and where there are conflicts of interest, there are intrigues. Of course, sometimes it may just be out of simple dislike, or some subjective emotions that cause hostility and undue hatred. There is nothing to be done if the aura is not harmonious. In short, Nan 11 came to attend the birthday banquet of Princess Bailing today, and the friendship she received was far less than the hostility, but she was strong-minded, strong-willed, and did not care about the hostility of some irrelevant people at all. To put it more bluntly, her mother is rich and Rongyu is powerful. As long as her mother is still her mother and Rongyu is still Rongyu, she does not have to worry about anyone's hostility towards her. And no matter how much the princess and the princesses of the clan present disliked her, no matter whether they just wanted to give her a warning or because the emperor was afraid of the regent, the facts soon gave them a loud slap in the face. Nan 11 is not a soft persimmon that is easy to bully. Whether it was a show of power or hostility, she took it calmly and didn't mind using the prestige of the regent. Instead, these noble ladies who thought they were superior to others made a fool of themselves and could only suffer in silence. Since both of them were unhappy, this superficial peace and harmony did not need to last too long. Before the banquet was over, the eldest princess silently gave Rong Le a look. Rong Le nodded calmly and looked at Linjia with a faint smile. Jia, the eldest princess just said that the peach blossoms in the garden are blooming well. Will you accompany me to pick some fresh petals? Linjia raised her eyes. Why are you picking peach blossoms? You can make peach blossom cakes and use them to make wine. Rong Le smiled dignifiedly, as if the gloomy mood in the flower hall before had been swept away. I'm idle at home on weekdays, so find something to do. Since Le has spoken, Jia, you can accompany her. Go ahead, you young people have more things to talk about together, the eldest princess said, and turned to look at Nan 11. Miss Nan, are you going too? Nan 11's eyes showed a little color, and she nodded nonchalantly. The peach wine is really good, it's good to go shopping. The eldest princess smiled. Jia, accompany Miss Nan and Le well, don't neglect them. Linjia frowned, and a strange feeling passed through her heart, but she didn't think much about it. The little girl had her own topics, and there was really nothing to talk about with her mother and these princess elders. So she stood up and gestured to Nan 11. I'll go too. Rong Meow stood up. I want to pick peach blossoms too. Seeing this, the other girls also stood up, saluted the eldest princess, and left the hibiscus hall with Rong Le and Linjia. When they walked outside, it seemed that even the air became fresher, and the faces of the girls were obviously relieved, which showed that they were all nervous in the hibiscus hall just now. There was no conversation along the way. It was not until they entered the peach garden and saw the peach blossoms in full bloom that Rong Le smiled. Jia, the peach blossoms here are beautiful, can you take me for a walk inside? Of course. Linjia nodded and turned to look at Nan 11, since Miss Nan also likes peach blossoms, it's just right. Jia, Rong Le said in a light tone, the peach garden is so big, let Miss Nan walk around at will, don't be too restrained. Linjia was slightly surprised, but Miss Nan is a guest, what if she gets lost in the mansion? It doesn't matter. Nan 11 smiled, you guys go and walk around, I just want to be alone for a while, the princess doesn't have to take care of me too much. The regent is a yandere who needs to be pampered. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 68. Linjia was a little worried and said hesitantly, can you do it alone? Nan 11 pointed at Yin and Yin behind her, as long as they are here, it's okay. Hearing this, Linjia glanced at the two maids behind her. Yin was a shrewd woman and would not let others take advantage of her verbally. Although Yin didn't like to talk and looked very indifferent, since the regent specially sent them here to protect Nan 11 personally, his martial arts must be very strong. After thinking about it like this, she felt a little relieved and nodded, then you can take a stroll in the garden first. You don't need to feel restricted, just like you would at your own home or the regent's palace. Nan 11 smiled lightly and nodded. Yin Huang, Linjia explained carefully, be sure to protect Miss Nan. No matter what happens, don't leave your side. Princess, don't worry. Yin nodded, without patting her chest to assure her, with Yin and I here, no one can touch a finger of my girl. After hearing this, Linjia turned around and left with Rong Le relieved. Miss Nan, you can go shopping by yourself. Rong Meow smiled lightly, Jia and I will go pick peach blossoms together. Nan 11 nodded casually, please do. Rong Meow soon followed and left. The other girls who came out quickly dispersed and took the maids to wander elsewhere. Only Nan Jiao stayed with Nan 11. Why are you free to come here today? She raised an eyebrow and looked at Nan 11, I thought you wouldn't come. Nan 11 turned around and looked at the huge garden. Although it was not a peach blossom, the scenery was very beautiful, and the clear fragrance of peach blossom lingered in the air, which was refreshing. If I didn't come, How would I know that I am so unpopular? Nan 11 smiled lightly and looked back at Nan Xiao. What gift did my sister send to Princess Bailing? It's okay that Nan 11 didn't mention it. When the congratulatory gift was mentioned, Nan Xiao's face instantly turned ugly, and she said with a smile, I'm not as rich as the eldest sister, so what kind of congratulatory gift can I give? Isn't it just a random gift from the warehouse? Nan 11 said calmly, Nan Xiao, if I were you, I would always pay attention to the attitude of my words. Nan Xiao sneered, Sister, do you want me to be respectful to you and be a pathetic person begging for mercy? There is no need for you to be respectful, but there is really no benefit to you being so sinister. Nan 11's voice was light, my mother is in charge of the power of the Prime Minister's house. Of course, it doesn't matter whether she controls the house or not. After all, the money in the house's expenses have always been taken from my mother's private treasury. Even if you hand over the reins of the family to Aunt Li, you can't change your situation. Nan Jiao's face froze, I didn't give you any money yesterday because you and Aunt Li had a bad attitude towards my mother. Nan 11 smiled lightly, if you feel that you don't have to ask my mother for money in the future, you can just be your elegant and dignified second wife, miss. You can no longer be contaminated by those things that smell like copper. You can continue to be rude to me. Nan Jiao's face changed slightly. She is not a fairy who is not stained by dust. How can she only maintain elegance and dignity without needing money? Delicacies from the mountains and seas for free, or silk and satin for free. Elegance and dignity are also made of silver. She can't survive by drinking dew from the air. It's true that the ant is in charge of the palace, but if you mother and daughter keep suppressing the ant and other daughters in the palace, my father will never sit idly by. Nan Jiao said coldly, don't forget that the father is the head of the family. The Prime Minister's mansion, it's not your mother and daughter's turn to have the final say. In other aspects, we, mother and daughter, may not have anything to say. Nan 11 chuckled, with a careless mocking tone, but in terms of money, if I say I won't give it, even if I come forward, it will be useless. If you don't believe it, you can leave. Let's see. After saying these words, Nan 11 turned around and walked towards the peach forest path, obviously not intending to talk nonsense to this idiot sister. I still can't see the situation clearly. No wonder my mother said that she and Aunt Li were not worth taking seriously. Apart from being a little domineering, narrow-minded, arrogant and selfish, and using low-level tricks to win favor in front of her Prime Minister father, this mother and daughter really didn't have any tricks up their sleeves. When it comes to scheming, Nan, you may be more powerful. However, a woman's scheming must be coordinated with the right time, location, and people. In the past, Nan 11 was unguarded against her, so she fell into her scheme step by step. Now, the completely different identities, the huge gap in dignity, and Nan 11's absolute advantage in knowing everything already meant that Nan Yu's scheming would no longer be of any use. Even if there is a plan, someone must cooperate. The queens and concubines in the palace are jealous, and the person they rely on is the emperor. When Nan Yu wants to play tricks, who does she rely on? Regent Rong Yu. I'm afraid Rong Yu could crush her with just one finger. Rely on Gu Qingshu? Gu Qingshu is now just a bug in Nan 11's heart, without any weight at all. In this case, Nan Yu's scheming naturally has no room to display. Nan 11 couldn't help but feel more comfortable when she thought about it. Sister 11. A familiar voice suddenly sounded in her ears, and Nan 11 frowned. The first thing that flashed through her mind was, I want CAO CAO, CAO CAO is here, and she couldn't even get a moment's peace. Nan 11 looked up following the voice. In the deep peach blossom path, Gu Qingshu, wearing a sapphire blue gown, stood there quietly. He was gentle and elegant, with a smile on his face, as gentle and affectionate as when they were in love in the previous life. The appearance is the most deceptive to the world. Nan 11 suddenly understood the reason why the eldest princess asked Linjia to take them to the peach forest. Rongul's so-called picking peach blossoms and making wine was obviously just an excuse. Their purpose was to create opportunities for Gu Qingshu. However, after thinking about it, I can understand that Gu Qingshu is the emperor's favorite, and the eldest princess is the emperor's sister. They are both from the emperor's faction. It is reasonable for the eldest princess to help Gu Qingshu. And logically speaking, Nan 11 should actually be considered a member of the emperor's faction, because her father was the emperor's most trusted confidant. But she is an exception. She, an unfilial daughter, actually wanted to be an enemy of her father, His Majesty the Emperor, and the eldest princess at the same time. She was both unfaithful and unfilial. It was quite interesting to think about it. Nan 11 couldn't help but curl her lips. This expression seemed to be misunderstood by Gu Qingshu, who was opposite him. He thought Nan 11 was happy to see him, so his expression suddenly softened and he stepped forward to hold her hand. Sister 11. Before Nan 11 could react, Yanyu behind him had already stepped forward, placing a dagger across Gu Qingshu's neck. Don't be impulsive. The consequence of impulsiveness is very likely to move your head. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The regent is a yandere who needs to be pampered. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 69. Although Linjia has a distinguished status, she is just a little girl. Naturally, her birthday party will not be as grand as that of an important official in the imperial court, and there will be no gathering of guests. Except for some boudoir daughters, only a few eldest sons of clans and young masters from aristocratic families received the invitation. To put it bluntly, it was just young people gathering together for fun. However, it is lively, and many banquets are also organized. Who is friends with whom, who represents which faction, and there is always a need to find out the truth and falsehood in every conversation. The female guests held a banquet in Furong Hall, while the male guests held a banquet in Qingfeng Courtyard. Although the ministers in the court also have conflicts of interest and have never stopped fighting openly and secretly, the way they scheming is somewhat different from that of women. Just like these young princes, except for some who are particularly narrow-minded, others obviously don't know how to do it. He chooses to be quick-tongued at the lively banquet, and does not try to show off his power in front of everyone, so the atmosphere is quite lively, with cups and cups being exchanged, people drinking, and it is extremely noisy. After 3 rounds of drinking, a servant came over to convey the words of the eldest princess: there will be a Kushui water drinking banquet in Splash Pavilion today. You gentlemen can go there to enjoy the fun. Kushui Shangqing has always been a popular activity for young men and girls. This activity does not need to worry about the differences between men and women. Young people can recite poems, drink wine, and drink tea together. The atmosphere is relaxed and cheerful, and you can also get to know the person you like during the activity. With good character and knowledge, if you find a girl you like, you can also start a pursuit offensive. The young masters responded in succession, I know, I'll go there right away. Chu Shui Shui Shang, the crown prince of Duan Palace, walked out with a hint of expectation in his tone. Today there are many girls in the princess's palace. We will see later which girl can show off her talents brilliant. Another person laughed and said, I heard that the Wen family girl is very talented. I wonder if she can compete with last year's #1 winner. The #1 scholar, the crown prince of Duan Palace, raised his eyebrows. Gu Qingshu is here too. How could he not come? The man in a black brocade robe said meaningfully. Miss Nan from the Prime Minister's mansion is here, how can he not come? Miss Nan from the Prime Minister's palace. The Crown Prince of Prince Duan's palace smiled, with a hint of amusement on his face. What kind of magic power does it have that can make even the regent look at her differently? She's good looking. Have you never seen this girl from South China? That's the real beauty. She's the most beautiful. The regent shouldn't be superficial and judge people by their appearance, right? Why not? The regent is not a man. The crown prince of Prince Duan was silent for a moment, and a strange luster flashed across his eyes. Rather than for her beauty, I believe it is more for the silver in Mrs. Nan's hands. SHH, you don't want your life. How can you say this nonsense? What are you afraid of? There is no one else here. The crown prince of Duan Palace looked around and lowered his voice. The regent holds the power of troops and horses. No money is needed to raise troops and horses. You need the emperor's approval to get them from the treasury. How can you have yourself? Is it convenient to use the money in people's hands? Although the emperor does not dare to make things difficult for the regent at the moment, the emperor is the emperor after all. As the legitimate ninth five-year supreme, sooner or later he will firmly hold all the power of the government in his hands. If the emperor wants to suppress the regent, he must start with military power, control military pay, and weaken military power, so as to achieve the goal of seizing power as the regent. Okay, let's not talk about this. The man in black robes and brocade clothes was obviously worried about this topic and stopped him in time. Did you just say that Gu Qingshu is here too? Yes. Where are the others? I don't know, I was in King Fenjiayuan just now. The two of them walked and chatted, gradually drifting away. In the distance, on the long corridor with densely hanging wisteria, a man in a dark gold-woven robe stood with his hands behind his back. His slender figure was tall and straight, and his whole body exuded cold pressure. Little Emperor's uncle, the eldest princess in a deep red dress, came over gracefully and looked at the dignified and indifferent man standing in the corridor in surprise. She bowed slightly and said, "Little Emperor's uncle came with Miss Nan?" The banquet was boring, so I asked Jia to take Miss Nan and Rongel for a walk in the peach forest, so that the two girls could talk together. Rongyu said nothing, his face was dignified and indifferent, and there was an alienating and cold aura lingering in the corners of his brows and eyes that would repel people thousands of miles away. Dylan, the older maid behind the eldest princess, was slightly surprised and said as if she had thought of something. "When I went to prepare tea just now, I seemed to see Mr. Gu also going to the direction of Daowen." "What nonsense are you talking about?" The eldest princess frowned, tilted her head and shouted angrily, "I am talking to the little emperor uncle. What are you talking about? You deserve to die." The maid immediately knelt down, clapped her hands, and explained urgently, "Slave, this slave may have misunderstood. Prince Regent, please don't take it seriously." Miss Nan went for a walk in the peach grove with the little princess, picking the peach trees by the way. These peach blossoms are intended to be used to make wine. I definitely didn't go to Daowen to meet Mr. Gu. Please don't misunderstand me. A bit of embarrassment appeared on the face of the eldest princess. "Uncle, please don't listen to a maid talking nonsense." Rongyu's handsome and demon-like face showed no emotion at all. Hearing this, he only glanced at her expressionlessly, then turned and left the corridor, treating the eldest princess and her maid as if they were nothing. When he was far away, so far away that even the corner of his noble black robe could not be seen, the maid stopped slapping her lips and slowly stood up from the ground. "Princess, is everything arranged?" The maid nodded, with a trace of hesitation on her face. "Is this bad for Mr. Gu? What if the regent is angry? Gu Qingshu has become a useless chess piece." The eldest princess looked coldly at the direction in which Rongyu disappeared. "Whether he is alive or dead, it has no impact on me. Even if Gu Qingshu's blood is spilled on the spot today, the loss to the emperor will not be big. The most important thing is that Nan 11 must not be allowed to marry Rongyu, otherwise the regent will be more powerful and will only make people more fearful." The maid lowered her head after hearing this. "Yes. In the peach forest." Gu Qingshu froze and looked at the dagger across his neck, his expression a bit ugly. "I'm talking to Sister 11, please stay away." Nan 11 clicked her tongue. Listen, this tone is so natural. Please go away, servant. There is no intimacy between men and women, Yunyu said coldly. If you want to get out, Mr. Gu should stay away. Gu Qingshu gritted his teeth and wished he could throw her away. He had a lot to say to Nan 11, but the dagger in Yunyu's hand glowed with a cold light, making him afraid to act rashly. Gu Qingshu took a cold breath, ignored her, and looked up at Nan 11, Sister 11, I asked you her this morning, and she said she didn't want to assassinate you. This matter was a misunderstanding. Nan Yu is awake, Nan 11 raised her eyebrows. Gu Qingshu nodded, I'm awake, so this is a misunderstanding. Can you come with me to the Gu mansion? I'll ask her to explain to you in person that Nan Yu is just a little girl, and she will never have the intention to hurt you. Since she is so kind, why not be with her? Nan 11 smiled lightly, the man is talented and the woman is beautiful, a perfect match. The author has something to say. Babies, starting from today, one chapter with 1,000 words has been changed to one chapter with 2,000 words, so 2 chapters will be updated today with 4,000 words. Please leave a message, okay. The regent is a yandere who needs to be pampered. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 70. A perfect match. Gu Qingshu's face stiffened, as if he was a little hurt. Sister 11, you are the only one in my heart. Nanyu is just a younger sister in my heart. I have no feelings for her at all. Does it have anything to do with me? Gu Qingshu was stunned. What did you say? Does it have anything to do with me whether you like Nanyu or not? Nan 11's voice was light. The person I like is Regent Rongyu, and the one I want to marry is also Regent Rongyu. Gu Qingshu, our engagement has been terminated. I hope you will stop pestering me. Gu Qingshu's face darkened. The person you liked before was obviously me. How could you change your mind so quickly? I don't believe it. Nan 11 looked at him indifferently, her eyes cold and mocking. Is the regent threatening you? Gu Qingshu found a logical reason for her, not wanting to believe that Nan 11 had really changed her mind. Nan 11, don't forget whose daughter you are, your father-in-law is the most important person to the emperor. Reliable minister, don't even know your own position. If the regent threatens you, What are you doing? Nan 11 slowly raised her hand to push aside the silver moon in front of her, walked forward slowly, and looked at Gu Qingshu curiously. You want to seek justice for me? Gu Qingshu's expression changed slightly, his eyes evasive. I can report to the emperor. Why are you reporting to the emperor? Nan 11 raised an eyebrow. Do you think the emperor is so wise that he will definitely help you? Do you think the emperor is kissing the regent or you? Although the emperor and the regent are close, they are not. It's nothing. Nan 11 smiled lightly. You want to say that the emperor and the regent are actually hostile? Gu Qingshu's expression suddenly changed. That's not what I meant. The emperor's heart is unpredictable. How can he say such words easily? That's what you actually mean, you just don't dare to admit it. Nan 11 brushed her hair at the temples. A real man dares to act like a man. If you don't even dare to admit what you said, how can I believe that you will dare to follow me? For me, the regent is calling for trouble. Gu Qingshu was embarrassed and ugly by what she said. His gentle and handsome face turned white and red. He almost looked at Nan 11 with an unbelievable look, and said with a little disappointment in his tone, Sister 11, you would never follow me like this before. I spoke. Nan 11 chuckled, really? You have changed, you have really changed. Gu Qingshu shook his head. What happened? If I did something wrong, you can tell me and I can change it. Please don't be so sarcastic, okay? As he said that, he stretched out his hand to grab her hand. May 11. Yunya quickly stepped forward to block Nan 11, don't move your hands or feet. Gu Qingshu gritted his teeth and almost couldn't help but want to tear this Yunyu to pieces who kept doing bad things to him. Get out. Yunya put one hand on her hips and held a dagger across the other hand in a threatening manner. Who are you? If you tell me to leave, I will leave. Gu Qingshu's face turned livid with anger. Gu Qingshu, I know whose daughter I am, and I don't need you to remind me. Nan 11 stood behind Yunyu and said calmly, besides, I know who I like better than you. With her red lips slightly hooked, she said clearly and firmly, I'm telling you right now, I don't like you, I even hate and look down on you, so please don't bother me again in the future. Nan 11. The regent has a handsome appearance and a noble status. He wants power and power. How are you qualified to compare with him? Nan 11 smiled lightly, and the curve of her lips raised was obviously sarcastic. I am blind. I won't let go of a top-quality jade like the Prince Regent and choose a worthless fish like you. Gu Qingshu's face turned green and white. He was embarrassed and embarrassed. He couldn't help but get angry. It turns out that I am really blind. I didn't expect that you are also a woman who loves vanity and covets glory and wealth. Just treat me as sincere. Dog, Nan 11, you disappoint me so much. Nan 11 smiled indifferently, even feeling sarcastic. I am so full that I stand here and listen to your nonsense. Gu Qingshu, this is the last time. Do you dare to come to me privately regardless of my honor, I'm going to be rude to you. After saying that, she turned around and left. Nan 11, I didn't expect you to be so self-destructive. Nan 11 curled her lips and walked out of the peach forest without looking back, Yin's Huang following closely like a shadow. Yunyu smiled coldly. My prince is handsome in appearance, distinguished in status, and wants power and power. How are you qualified to compare with him? Even if Miss Nan is blind, she will not let go of a top-quality gem like my prince. Instead, choose worthless fish like you. After saying this, she ignored Gu Qingshu's angry and twisted expression and turned around triumphantly to follow Nan 11. The Dalan path is not long, and we quickly reached the exit. A tall figure came into view. He was dressed in a black robe with dignity and dignity. His face was dignified and indifferent, as pure and cold as the ice and snow of the Tian Shan mountains. Nan 11 stopped and looked at the man in front of her without saying a word, and said in a calm tone, is the prince worried that I ran away with Gu Qingshu, so he is monitoring me? Rongyu pursed her thin lips slightly, and there was a hint of anxiety in her eyes. No. Does that mean you suspect that I'm secretly dating Gu Qingshu behind the prince's back? As soon as these words came out, Qing Yang, who was standing behind Rongyu, and Yunyu, who was standing behind Nan 11, spoke at the same time, with a slightly anxious tone. Young lady misunderstood, my prince is not such a person, and it is just a coincidence that the prince came here. It's not a coincidence. Rongyu couldn't help but clenched his hands. You leave. Yin Shuang and Yin Yu bowed their heads and saluted. Qing Yang seemed to want to say something else, but when the words came to his lips, he found that it was useless to say anything, so he simply shut up. The three of them left the place soon. Nan 11 stood silently, her beautiful and delicate face was calm. I didn't doubt you. Rongyu took a step forward, as if he was worried about scaring Nan 11, and soon stopped again, his voice slightly tense. I didn't monitor you either. Nan 11 said, then why did the prince appear here? Rongyu pursed his lips and was silent for a moment. I'm worried. What are you worried about? Rongyu didn't speak, his deep eyes were locked on her face, and there seemed to be a rolling color in his eyes. Nan 11 looked at him expressionlessly, and then said calmly, Your Highness should have heard something just now. I am a vain, fame-seeking woman who loves new things and hates old ones. Will Your Highness feel that you have seen my true colors? Rongyu frowned, you are not. What am I not? Rongyu pursed his lips and stopped talking. Nan 11 stared at his handsome face, and a smile slowly rose at the corner of her li.